This is the way. Welcome to episode 28 of the Holocron Chronicles podcast. My name is Mark. Surprise, I'm actually not the Mandalorian.
Oh, what? Oh, God, up is down, blue is gold, sideways is upways. I don't know. Nothing makes sense anymore.
For anyone listening and not watching the video, I have a new Mandalorian helmet that I was wearing for the intro. But I took that off because it's quite warm. It's a hefty helmet. It's the Black Series Hasbro Black Series Mando helmet. But it's fun. I like wearing it around the house. It's great.
Around the house.
But my name's Mark, aka the Canardian. I'm joined as always by my trusty co-pilot Charlie Carden. Charlie, how you doing tonight?
Purple Rain. I'm here in a scenic Aloft Hotel in Metro Cleveland, Ohio, for work. So right. Yeah, that's a thing that's happening. But as I did frequently last fall, I'm still jumping into recording the show because this is my passion. This is where I'm at. Wherever I am, I'm here for our listeners and viewers.
Perfect. We appreciate the effort. I know, as someone who traveled around for a job for several years, I know how unpredictable hotel internet can be, and it has gotten better over the last few years, but I know it's tough. So I very much appreciate you making this work. And traveling for work can get hectic, and you're trying to figure out new places and the work stuff's going on. So I appreciate you being here and sticking it out for the show. And we are also joined by a very special guest. First time on this show, but not her first time on the Secret Friends Network. We are joined by Scarlet, aka Scarlet_stream on Twitter, as you may know her. How you doing tonight?
Hello there. I have been here often enough that some of you viewers probably recognize me. But I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, I'm super happy to have you on the show. We've done co-op mode together. You've been on Secret Friends Unite. So hopefully people are familiar. But if they're not, give a little introduction about yourself, but let's really dive down, because this is a Star Wars show. Let's dive down into your Star Wars origin story. So how'd you get into Star Wars? And like I said, you can start a little bit about yourself too.
Yeah. So as I've said plenty of times before on the previous shows, I'm a huge nerd of nearly everything. If you could see my bookshelves, if you could see our game shelves, like, we love almost all of it. And Star Wars is 100% included in that. Every wrapping paper tube, every Christmas, even last Christmas, became a lightsaber in my hands. Fun fact, awesome. I would probably have a green lightsaber. There's that.
Sweet, me too.
Yes.
Any reasoning behind the green? What's
I know that, like, I totally love to be like an expert duelist, which would be probably your blues and stuff. But to be honest, me being who I am, I'm also that person who's like, I snipe everybody in Skyrim, so I'd be like way far away. So I'd be a force user. I'd be like, I'd pick up rocks and I'd shoot them at people.
Pew pew pew.
Yes.
Rock in a hard place.
That's great. That's decent reasons. I think I like when you take a more thoughtful approach, versus me, who's just like, I like green and this one looks nice. So that's basically my whole thing. So how? Actually, before I ask how you got into Star Wars, I do want to preface this by saying I have a cold. So if I sound weird, or like at any point just like look like I'm dying if you're watching, or just sound like
his eyes start weeping,
I'm terrible. Yeah. It's because I'm
so emotional about Solo, a Star Wars story. I'm so emotional.
Sadly, I'm perfectly fine, aside from my sinuses, which are just like clogged permanently. It feels like forever. So I apologize for my voice. I may sound a little Kermit the Froggy, but that being said, that out of the way, let's focus on the show and focus first off about your Star Wars origin story. So how did you get into Star Wars?
Well, I think as most people my age and younger, Star Wars is just eternally part of your life. You grow up knowing that Darth Vader is Luke's dad. You just do.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's just kind of always been around. we watched, the original movies and stuff on TV every once in a while. It wasn't really it's going to sound terrible. I wasn't really allowed to be a nerd because it was weird for girls to be a nerd when I was a kid. So
Oh my.
a lot of my nerdiness was more attended to once I met my husband. So then it really just all came out. Yeah.
Closet
So
nerd until you were
yeah,
allowed out.
100%
Right.
closet nerd.
Out of the closet. Yes. Let your
Yes.
freak flag fly, as it
Yeah,
were.
I'm glad you're out now. So you said you watched them like on TV. So your parents weren't like really into Star Wars. Like you sounds similar to me, where like I always say, like when I was like super young, like Star Wars was just everywhere. Like
Mhm.
even before I saw the movies, same to you, like you heard like the Luke, I am your father misquoted, but like that was the it was just there, like part of
Yes.
like it was like ABC 1, 2, 3,
Luke,
Luke,
I
I am
am
your
your
father.
father.
That like that was it, right? Like it was just
Yes.
everywhere.
Is that some kind of Canadian pop band song right there? Did BNL do that at some point, Mark? Tell us the truth. Did that come out like
I'm
that?
sure, maybe, yeah. It's I'm
It
sure.
must be those
Yeah.
guys. There you go. I knew it. I knew
What
it.
is it? You got the Jackson 5 singing ABC 1, 2, 3, and then you had some Canadian pop band singing Luke, I am your father.
Alanis Morissette with
That's
Sarah McLachlan and BNL. There you go. And Brian Adams, the elder statesman.
yes. You forgot Bare Naked Ladies, but I'll forgive you on that one.
I said BNL. I said BNL.
Oh, sorry. I missed
That's
that one.
okay.
Sorry. That's on me, and I'll blame my cold, but I also
Ouch.
just
You're
completely didn't catch the abbreviation there.
Canadian. Your Canadianness now drawn into question.
That's how it happens. So
That's how it happens.
so you said your parents weren't really like into the movie. It was just kind of there, right?
It was just mostly that it was there. My parents watch a lot of like TV shows. So I kind of just snuck around and watched nerd stuff and anime and all that stuff when I was supposed to be asleep, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That was watch the cartoons that you're not supposed to when you're pretending to be asleep, or play the Game Boy with the snake light if you're anything like me, like under the covers and like
Yeah, no,
flick it off
it was usually
when you hear the
books. Yeah, the Game
steps down the
Boy
hall. Yeah.
Advance.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Very, very similar. Um, so when did you really start to get into Star Wars? You said maybe when you met your husband. Did you start kind of like, do you guys have like an annual watch, or like did he kind of make you sit down and be like, you can't watch them on TV, like you have to watch in this order and that thing, or did you sit him down and say like, I want to do this, like what's
No, so my husband is fantastic and he is like totally like in the loop of everything, and I've luckily become more in the loop of things. But he introduced me to the Clone Wars, and then, Rebels came out later on, and then there was Star Wars Resistance and all that good stuff. So he just kind of was like, here's all the things that you've missed, and I ate it up. I
right?
was like, this is fantastic. Like, and he's introduced me to like a ton of things. Like, totally, I was like, no way. Like, why would I ever watch Star Trek? And I guarantee you, I almost quit on the first episode of Next Generation. I almost quit.
What? Oh boy.
It's so messed. You have to admit, Q is a total nut job to meet in the first episode. But we're talking about Star Wars here. I don't know.
We are because of me. Star Trek always ends up coming up, but I have a whole show dedicated to it, so I can't. That's just the chocolate peanut butter. Let it be.
I'm surprised. The first time Star Trek came up on this episode that wasn't brought up by Charlie, I think that was that's an impressive drop. You beat Charlie to the punch.
So you asked though, like, do we have like a yearly thing or whatever? And he does not. He retains everything. I do not. So I rewatch things like twice a year, like everything. I watch Next Generation at least once a year, Deep Space Nine, and so I rewatch Clone Wars. It's usually on in the background or something. And then Rebels. I adore Rebels. I love that one so much.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. I find Rebels, turns some people off because of the art style. You get the skinny little toothpick lightsabers, and a
Yes,
lot of
and
it's based on the original concept artwork,
yes,
which is fantastic when you know that. But when you're coming off of Clone Wars and you see this thing,
and
and you're
their
like,
hair is kind of like weird.
yeah, why are some of these choices being made? And you kind of have to dig, or at least know why some of those things exist. And like, a lot of these characters are based off the original design sketches for like Chewbacca and this and
Hmm.
like that, like it's that kind of stuff that like as a casual viewer, you might not know and you might not appreciate, and you might look at it and be like, I can't put up with it. But
It was a
when
little hard.
it's like, this is so good. But it's still jarring the first time. Like if I go and rewatch Rebels, it's like,
Hmm.
man, it's such a weird choice, but
Hmm.
I still love it for that. So we've talked about TV shows, but I want to know your favorite Star Wars movie.
So I'm terrible. I don't have a favorite movie. Um,
All right.
I and for me, when it comes to things that are Star Wars, it's everything's just kind of the same level for me. I have things that I like slightly less, and I have things that I like slightly more, but I wouldn't say I necessarily have a favorite amongst them all. It's really the TV shows that I like to get into because they can tell a much longer, more in-depth story, which leads into favorite character, Obi-Wan, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
his development,
Obviously, for
yes,
sure.
obviously.
Obviously.
His development in the Clone Wars was absolute perfection. Like his dad
Yeah.
jokes, his loving, caring personality though, but he was just a really good Jedi too. And then learning his relationships with all these other characters, I was just like, this is perfection. And Obi-Wan, I love you. I
Yeah.
in all of my
Yeah.
college classes,
Aw.
I always start off with "Hello there," signed Obi-Wan, and everybody's like, "Ah!"
That's why I start the show the way I do. Aside from today, like usually it's we've done 27 episodes, and it's always hello there. That is the 100% my
You got
tribute to that character.
you got to have that hook.
I
It's
almost
a
took the
hook.
Yeah,
camera. I
that's it.
almost took the camera to
That's
go
it.
like this, "Hello there," but then that
Yeah.
seems like too much.
I should start doing that. I'll just
You-
hide and pop
Just
up.
have like a
oh my!
black piece of paper that slides down. "Hello there."
Oh my goodness.
I could do some effects or something in my video program. That's I think
Yes.
that'll work.
Yes.
We'll get something going there. Um, so with picking Obi-Wan, the answer to this next question might be evident, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Mhm.
If you had some force powers, light side or dark side, which way would you lean?
So, as a child, I would have said the dark side because we have cookies. Coming back to that in a second. But I would say I would mostly be the light side. But maybe more like the Bendu. I don't believe that there's really only
Right.
light or only dark in each individual.
Mhm.
I do believe that for the most part, people are good. So the light side. But apparently I should belong to the dark side because they have cookies and I make really great chocolate chip cookies. So it's a toss up.
Fascinating.
I'm sure the light side can have some fun snacks as well. And you know what? If you're looking at Anakin, dark side cookies are a little bit burnt. So
Man
We're,
alive.
Good. That was so good.
What about
no
that?
one
What
wants a
about
crispy chocolate chip.
what about that lava cake where Lego Obi-Wan has the high ground? Oh my gosh! Well,
need
Mark,
I need to
Charlie
make a lava cake now.
bringing
I
a
have an
lava
Anakin
cake
and
joke. That was amazing. Like,
I mean, come on.
pause. Just pause for 2 seconds. Let the listeners recover, because lava cake after a burnt Anakin joke was freaking perfection.
You know,
I now
we
know
could
the
just-
cake I'm making for my husband's birthday next year.
And
all comedy is timing. Everybody knows that. But
I love that. I love that.
in an effort to keep us rolling, I will, Mark. I'm going to jump you into the news here because you have a couple of things here. I don't know anything about this first one, and I know it's game news, and I know that I'm going to have to rein you in. But you kind of got my curiosity about this one because I don't know anything about. There's some kind of toxic pushback going on Twitter for
Yeah.
something Star Wars game related. So educate me.
Well, the yeah. So the pushback. I just want to make it clear. You said toxic pushback. The pushback is not toxic. The
Oh, okay.
pushback is because of some toxic behavior. So
Oh,
for
okay.
we did already cover this on co-op mode. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to the last episode. We covered it a little bit there, but I'm going to summarize it here again because this is the Star Wars show, so we got to talk about this. So there's a new game
Yeah.
just recently announced called Star Wars Eclipse, and the trailer looked badass. Just great. Charlie, if you haven't seen the trailer, go
Oh
watch
yeah,
it because
no.
it
Oh,
is
come on
really
now.
cool, very
No,
cinematic.
I got that. And it's all set up for me to watch
I
the cutscene, the cutscene someday. All
Perfect.
set up.
So watching that, it was like really cool. Really, like as you started to figure out, like this is Star Wars. Oh my goodness! Like what is this? It doesn't look like Fallen Order 2. It looks like they're going to the High Republic. This is so cool. And then Quantic Dream came up as the developer. Uh, Before this, I knew there was some trouble with Quantic Dream, but I didn't really dive too deep into it. So it was only after looking at Twitter and reading some stuff. And luckily, our friends from Pink Milk, Brian and the crew over there,
Yeah.
really explained it to me very well. And they've been really driving this Blackout Star Wars Eclipse hashtag on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I see this now. Looking through this article. Oh my god.
that's it. Yeah. So some of
Nice.
the stuff, David Cage, the founder and director of Quantic Dream, um, made some he's made a ton of very rude and crude comments allegedly. I tend to, in these kind of cases, kind of believe the people who are saying this when there's so much kind of said about someone. Now they have brought it to court. There's been like libel cases and different things come out, like he's saying like I didn't say this. It's very much he said she said, or he said, or all that kind of stuff. But the actions and the even just the other CEO and founder of the company, I can't remember,
Guillaume.
Guillaume, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So, he said something like, "If I'm not under oath, can I still lie in court?" or something like
Oh,
to that effect. I don't want to do the
that's
exact
delightful.
quote. Forgive my language here for a second, but some of the David Cage quotes are things like, "I don't make games for fags." Um, all the women in my games are whores.
Oh my god.
There's been some doozies. We
Damn.
need more. I think it was we need more tits on the floor, like meaning like there weren't enough attractive females working at the company, like that kind of like
Jesus.
offhandedness. Um, there's been some racial stuff. There's been some transphobic and homophobic stuff.
Oh
There
my
have been
god.
a ton of things that this guy has allegedly said that really, really make me want to not play this Star Wars game. And for
Right.
me, who runs a Star Wars and a video game podcast, to say that I don't want to play a Star Wars video game, that that is an extreme kind of reaction. But I'm here to back up our friends and people in the community who feel like this game isn't being made for them because of who they are
Right.
or who they love.
You know,
I
I
don't.
will
We've
I will tell you, if I can interject, that I
Yeah.
absolutely, so outside of Star Wars, I am a firm believer, not only someone who's a salesperson and has worked with small businesses that are rude to me as a salesperson, I don't do business there. When I see a corporation, uh, like a certain place that sells chicken that I won't name, that has a reputation for giving money to hate groups, I don't give them my business, and I never will. So only by consumers speaking with their wallets can those who are in power who behave badly be knocked out of, be driven from the public sphere. So I
Mhm.
am hearing what you were saying 1000%. That is the only way to really make that voice heard, is to not give them your money, because by giving them
Yep.
your money, you're just allowing them to continue to do what they do.
And it's, I mean, for me, I'm a big proponent of Xbox Game Pass, and if games end up there, I kind of consider them like for free. You know, it's like Netflix. Like you can watch it on Netflix for
Hmm.
free, right? Like it's just a
Right.
yearly subscription. Even if this game ends up on Game Pass, like I don't want to give them my time, let alone
Right.
my money. So it's just that kind of I just don't think this kind of behavior should be rewarded. And the worst part about it is that Lucas Games, Quantic Dream, everyone's being incredibly, deafeningly silent about
Right.
this.
Like that's going to make
And
the
people,
controversy go away. You know,
well,
you can't get
exactly
away
right.
from
And
it.
like even if Lucas came out and said something, anything like, we support all people, all races, genders, whatever. um we partnered with these guys because there are 1,000 developers on the team that make great games, and we don't want to hold them responsible for what one guy allegedly said or whatever. We're looking into it, we're being careful. David Cage isn't really hands on. something something, anything, even if they came out and said like, yeah, sorry, we kind of messed up, but we're far in development, so we don't want to cancel. Next
Right.
time we'll do better. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to this, but
The,
I
the
know
the
that
answer, but the answer is not nothing. Obviously, the
that's
answer
it.
is to just
Yeah.
be like, it's see no evil, right?
Yeah.
It can't be
So
like that.
Scarlet, another video game fan, as a Star Wars fan, as a woman who should not feel objectified, or like you're not worthy of playing this game that this chauvinistic jackass made. What are your thoughts on this? Have you been following along the Blackout Eclipse?
So, first I heard of it was a couple days ago, when you brought it up in our messenger chat. Um,
Right.
all I had ever known about Quantic Dream is the stuff that they had made before and how story heavy it was. So I was pretty stoked about that. Because I love story-based games where the actions I make actually matter, not just part of what's already written. So I was like, this game looks phenomenal. It sounds phenomenal, and it's made by a company that so far has been relatively well received and made story heavy games. So it was like, this is cool. I had no idea about any of this, which it's my understanding that most of this started almost 4 years ago. If this was, 2 weeks later, this would be
Yeah.
4 years ago in 2018. Um, that does not detract from the fact that these things have allegedly happened. And as a female gamer, and as a mom to two girls, like, these are horrifying things to hear. Um,
Yeah.
so that has put me in an uncomfortable place, but I do also have to remind myself that Lucas, who is under Disney, has decided to put their trust in this studio. But at the same time, the CEO, the directors, they're not the people who are putting in the thousands of necessary hours to make this game. When I buy a
Right.
game, I try to think about the creatives. And maybe that comes from the fact that I've been said creative person. So I can understand, wanting to support them and their hard work, though it still would. I'm also there on the same mindset of, I don't want to show these two dirt bags, you know, any
Yeah.
real estate in my head. I don't want to give them any real
Hmm.
estate for my wallet.
True.
Like, so
Yeah.
it's a it's kind of a hard thing. Like, I'm actually there more with your first suggestion. If Lucas was to come out and say they're not necessarily part of this project,
Hmm.
if that's what they came out and said, I am golden.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it, right? It's the silence that at this point is just kind of making everything worse. So
Hmm.
Right. Without a doubt. Yeah.
hopefully
Take a stand.
hopefully we'll get
Exactly.
someone saying something soon. I like I said, I hate passing up the ability to play a Star Wars game. And we haven't had an announcement officially or anything shown from Fallen Order 2, although I hope that's in development. Um, So I need my Star Wars fix. I guess the next one I will be playing, hopefully when it eventually comes out, will be Lego Star Wars. And
the only game that I care about as a non-gamer. Exactly. I've been
had to throw it
replaying.
in to keep you awake, John.
I've been playing the Lego Star Wars Complete Saga again for the 50,000th time in the last 20 years, and I still love it. It's super low tech. It's super lo-fi. Terrible functionality. But brings back those, nice memories of my adult son and how he and I used to play it together. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Absolutely. So we will keep you posted, but also follow. I will openly admit I am not the expert on this. I'm not the best person to follow, although I'm trying to follow along. I'm trying to be supportive of all our friends here. But the Pink Milk Crew for sure is who I'm taking my my directions from, basically, for lack of a better term. That's where I'm getting my information, and they've been laying it out really well. So kudos to them, and go give them a follow. Brian's been on the show, and we just want to support our friends. So there we go.
Totally awesome.
The only other bit of news, and it's not really news, I guess, but 1 week from when this episode drops. So if you're listening to this when it drops,
oh yeah,
we got the Book of Boba Fett. Okay, quickly, where are our hype levels at? Scarlet, let's start with you.
You're gonna hate me. I'm that middle person. I want it, but I don't want it. Because I love Boba's mystery, and I love him just being kind of that, that sneaky.
And if Star Wars is about anything, it's about stripping away the mystery. Anakin,
I know.
Boba Fett, the Emperor. Star Wars is
someone.
They're all about coulda, not shoulda. Shoulda, not coulda.
Someone said that for this this episode. Sorry, keep going.
So I want it because I think it's cool. We've got however his name is pronounced, Temuera Morrison.
Tamira Morrison.
Yeah, so he was the original Jango Fett. So I think it's really cool that because they're all clones, he can come back and be Boba, and it still perfectly works. So I love that he's back. I think that's fantastic. He's been doing phenomenal in The Mandalorian. I am excited to see what kind of happened to the Hutt Empire, because I think that'll be really fun to see that bit of story. But I don't want a whole lot more of Boba's story. I just want to see him do stuff.
Right. And you're right. You will have the in there this is what happened with blah blah blah, this or that. So yeah, it would be nice to just see things move forward as to be them. Inevitably with any of these Disney Plus shows or really any streaming show, one solid episode is all flashback. We're taking a break from this really shocking thing happened at the end of episode 5, but instead of jumping right back into an episode 6, here's some filler bullshit. And then in episode 7, we'll get back to it. Yeah, exactly.
And there's only 7 episodes.
This is a lot.
Oh boy. Okay.
That's it. But that doesn't really stop it. We've seen this happen with Mythic Quest on Apple TV Plus. We've seen it happen with Ted Lasso. There's this kind of precedent lately in these streaming shows to have this weird spin-off trippy episode that doesn't have anything to do with anything, and then they get back to the action.
Okay,
so
but I like it
hope
when they
that's
all
not
start
the case.
doing Dungeons and Dragons, though. I'm okay with a filler episode if they're all playing Dungeons and Dragons, because it's been happening.
As we're talking about the Quiet Dark Death episode in season 1 of
sure, why not? Oh my goodness. But in our next episode, Mark, we'll jump in and we'll be able to cover the first 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. And of course you and I will both be active on Twitter and Facebook, kind of giving our 2 cents in the time in between. So regardless, dear listener / viewer, stick with us and we will bring you all the dope on the Boba that we can bring you. Anyway,
Charlie, where's your hype level at? Are you up a little bit higher?
I'm probably an 8.73. I'm gonna say, because I enjoy the exactness of. I do that really just to piss off Hoekstra, because he just anytime he's like, "Well, write something and I'll make it fractional," and he'll just his little bald head will shake. He doesn't like it. So yeah, no, I'm excited, but yeah, I do share somewhat of the sentiment of kind of the same old, and not always wanting to see how the sausage is made, just wanting to move forward and have new stories. So, but really, his presence in Mando in season 2, and just those last couple of episodes, which Mark and I were talking, I rewatched. We did a full rewatch of the Mando again, and it's like, let's go back and watch it again. I love it so much. It's so
good.
Really super perfect. That I really do want more of the same. But the fear is that it turns into like the Simpsons spinoff showcase. If you remember that old episode of The Simpsons, if you're a follower, where they gave spinoffs to Grandpa Simpson and Chief Wiggum and Moe the bartender, and they were just all horrible. So you're really hoping that it doesn't turn out to be like, and we gave Boba his own thing, and it's dreadful. So let's hope not.
So if I can go off of that real quick, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if I can go off of that real quick, that's my fear. Because when they create these new side stories, they're often stories of how does this character fit into everything else that's going on. But what I want is, how does this character shape their own story? So I worry that it's just going to be, where was Boba in the background of all of these things? I don't want to see that. I've already seen all of those things happen.
That it's going to be very,
Boba?
very...
Yeah,
very Forrest Gump. Here's Forrest Gump meeting, Lyndon B. Johnson. Here's Forrest Gump telling JFK he's got to pee. You don't want to see that.
Yeah.
No.
So we know he already met Bib Fortuna, so we'll see who else he meets, I guess.
Right.
And that's I'm with you guys on that one. Like, my hype level's pretty high. I wore a Mandalorian helmet to introduce this episode. Like, it's there. But I'm really hoping that they do, as you guys said, like, push the story forward. Like, if we get some things, it's like, well, here's how I got out of the Sarlacc pit, and it's like 2 seconds, and then he's like, okay, let's go kill some mafia.
It's not like, nope, it's 2 episodes. Yeah, here's 2 episodes of flashback.
Being digested.
I hope that's
well,
2 episodes of being digested.
I adore Boba, though. Like, I geek out over Boba, like, constantly. Like, we went to Star Wars night and a Mariners game, baseball. And it was tons of people there who were like professional cosplayers, and there was this legit Boba Fett, and I was like, oh my gosh, can I take a picture? I was like, full 100%, 1000% geek level. I was like, this is fantastic. Like, I'm here for you and none of the other stuff.
It's just, don't even care. Just Boba me gently, Boba me slowly, as it were. Kill me softly. Come on, that was an old AM Gold. Rock me gently, rock me slowly. No, I know. Nobody gets my
You're on a roll today. I'm loving it.
Nobody gets my music references. I know I'm on a
No, we get them.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
Let's leave Boba behind.
Bye, Boba. And bye, Felicia.
And move on. Move on to the meat of this episode. Solo, a Star Wars story.
Or, as it was called time and again by our friends at the Weekly Planet, Solo, a Han Solo movie. There you go.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So this movie, I guess you could count Rogue One in these Star Wars stories, but this one kind of kicked off like a Star Wars story. Right. And there were supposed to be other movies, other things with a Star Wars story, like Yoda, a Star Wars story, Boba Fett, a Star Wars story. Now that's going to turn into a TV show.
Right.
We don't really have any other a Star Wars story kind of thing. So this started and ended that series of films.
Rogue One actually came out first, but chronologically, this one is, because this takes place, if I'm doing my prequel math, this is, I think, between 7 and 13 years before A New Hope. Wait, no. Between 7 and 13 years between A New Hope. So if you do the math, because there's a framing sequence with Han as a young. Well, no, I just did my math wrong. Because there's 3 years between the first part and the second part of the movie. So at any rate, let's just call it right around between
It's
8 and
earlier
10
than
years.
Rogue One. Yeah.
Yeah, because Rogue One is an hour, literally 1 hour before the events of A New Hope when it ends. That's been chronicled. If you listen to the from a certain point of view from A New Hope, that's the first story. But anyway,
so this one's a bit different than for the most part. So far, we've done just the prequels in this rewatch project that we've been doing. So this is the first one that kind of breaks out of a trilogy of films. It's the first one of the modern, really, really modern movies that we've covered. So I'm curious. Let's start off with this one, Charlie. Where does this fit in to your Star Wars rankings?
that is really difficult because this is the only film that is truly apart content-wise from the other 10 films. The other 10 films, 11 films, whatever it is, because the Skywalker saga is 9 films. And Rogue One is kind of like a plate of chicken wings before Episode 4. It's an appetizer because really if you look at Rogue One into Episode 4, it's 2 parts of the same story. But you look at Han Solo, a solo Han Solo movie, and it just I think you and I were talking about this earlier. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't have a fit. It's instead of being that plate of chicken wings, it might as well be the creme brulee that you have after dinner because it's fluff. It doesn't have plot threads that really connect in a way, or the connections, and I'll talk about this a little bit later when we talk about Darth Maul, seem super forced and out of place. But there are parts of this that I absolutely love. So I don't really have an answer to your question. So
it's
to quote Homer Simpson, so to answer your question, I don't know.
Right. It is tough. It's Scarlet, I want to see where you land on this one first before I give my kind of 2 cents. So where does this rank for you?
To preface, I'm the person who really enjoys the movie Independence Day. So take everything I say with a grain of salt because I enjoy really dorky movies like that.
Welcome to Earth.
Yes, it's so good. Anyway, so I don't really like ranking things, but I actually have to say this is probably, like I said before, everything's just kind of there. Some I like a little less, some I like a little more. This is one that I actually like a little bit more. I enjoy this movie, and I think I enjoy it more every time I watch it. There's great humor, really amazing graphics. I think the story is something that people can actually kind of connect with, somebody who's coming from nothing to, being part of something that's actually important. And there's really great acting. Alden, whatever his last name is, but he is
Aaron Reich, I think.
Aaron Reich?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
He is a fantastic young Harrison Ford. So I think he handled the way that Harrison Ford created Solo. I think he handled all of those mannerisms really well. So I think based on that and everything else that I enjoy in the movie, it's actually one of those kind of higher movies. I would watch this, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I agree. I've had it on in the background numerous times, during a work from home day where I'm like, well, I'm just going to have Star Wars on while I'm doing email or blah, blah, blah. And so I've listened to it more than I've watched it. So I would have to agree with kind of your, thinking of it more as kind of a radio drama than anything else, because I hear it more than I see it. But when I look up, I'm like, ooh, look at that. Yeah, but yeah, no, totally. Okay.
Yeah. This is probably my least watched Star Wars film because I don't know. I heard so much weird stuff about it. And we did get Todd commented on our Discord channel when I asked some questions of what everyone thought about this one. And he said he wished we got the Lord and Miller version rather than Ron Howard's kind of mashup with reshoots and this and that and whatever. He said Ron Howard is a fine filmmaker, but doesn't have a flair for the fantastic. So it came off pretty flat for me, which I don't know if you guys agree with. And I don't agree with that.
Well,
exactly.
I will heartily remind you that Todd Oxtra is not a Star Wars fan. He likes to talk like he is, but on the balance, he's not much of a fan. So I'll go on record as saying that.
He also said he wished they didn't focus on covering all of Han's greatest hits. So, Charlie, I think that's
Yes.
kind of touching on what you like. It's not.
I'm echoing. I do echo his sentiment in that, because there was a lot of box checking in this. Like, look, here's the gold dice. Here's how he met
Yeah,
Lando. Here's how he got the
right.
ship, the most important part. Here's how they met Chewbacca. So it's a lot of like, yeah, it's a lot of like, it's Billy Joel's greatest hits discs 1 and 2, which I won't put down because it's one of the greatest things you could ever own. I mean, Scenes from Italian
Right.
Restaurant, Only the Good Die Young, An Innocent Man. It's all great stuff, but you're right. It's all a little convenient to have it all in one little box set. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to
It,
real life doesn't work like that, because you have one moment here and 3 years later you have another, and 6 months after that
and
something else happens.
if you really want to be critical, this movie is a 2.5 hour over explanation of a mistake they made with the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs thing, saying it's like, because it's a parsec
Right,
is a measurement, it's a distance rather
right,
than time. So he made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Never made sense in the first, the episode 4, and
right.
this explains it that, like, yeah, no one else can do it that short because you have to go through the path, and it's this long, like 2.5 hour convoluted
And
explanation for something that didn't really need to be explained. But
it
I
doesn't
love
and it
it.
doesn't matter at all. But yes, you're right. That's the
No,
thing about it. I still come back around to really enjoying it, because
yeah,
even though it wasn't super relevant, I hate to say that, it wasn't really relevant to anything else going on in Star Wars. In the era before The Mandalorian, where everything is great, this was like, we get this was Disney's first attempt to have Star Wars coming out on a schedule, where before, we had the
mm,
original trilogy were, 3 years apart. Then we jumped forward, you know, almost 20 years to get over 20 years really to get episode, or to get
mhm,
episode, am I doing my math right? Almost 20 years to get episode 1, and those were 3 years apart. And then we had this big gap, and then we finally ended up, and then Disney made their acquisition, and then we finally ended up with this. So this was at the point that Disney
mhm,
said, let's rush forward and do movies all the time. Well, it was the failure of this, meaning it didn't really perform to its $1 billion box office, whatever it is, that really kind of nudged us into the golden age of Disney Plus television programs for Star Wars, of which 2022 is going to give us, the ramp up of the production. We're going to get Andor, and we're going to get Obi-Wan, and we're going to see another season of the Bad Batch. And so 2022 is really going to be a great era of Star Wars on television, because Star Wars in the movies is kind of dead right now. There is nothing.
right,
There is
right,
nothing. So Star Wars has left the theater, and this
yeah,
was, with the exception of the Rise of Skywalker, which ended the Skywalker saga. This was their last kind of quasi original outing, and was it a success, or was it a failure? There's no easy answers with this movie. I just can't find a lot of answers to questions about it.
right. Scarlet, similar to like what you said, like I just like this movie for it being a fun action movie. Like it's just like it's a popcorn. Like not everything, as much as this ties into other things, and it is like Han's greatest hits and whatever. Like I also find it's just kind of fun. Like
It is
it's just
just
fun and dumb, and
fun.
it doesn't need to tie into anything. But it also like rewatching it just before this, I noticed there's a lot of stuff like even a Black Spire name drop, like Black Spire Outpost, which is the place
Mm-hmm.
in Disney World. So
Mm-hmm.
there was that kind of like little thing. Um, but like there's a whole lot of stuff, and I loved seeing the Empire as a way out for people.
Mhm.
I
Mm-hmm.
find that very interesting.
Mhm.
I
That
find
was
that
very,
like the
very much so,
Empire
and that's how they built the
is
empire.
is
Because
a
yeah,
good way for people to, escape
get out of a bad
their
situation.
what's
Yeah,
going on with them, right? So it's um yeah, it's a really interesting kind of look that way.
right.
Um yeah. So what let's focus, I guess, on some favorite scenes specifically. Um, Scarlett, what are you thinking for this? You have a big smile on your face, so you have something right in your mind. I could tell.
Cause it makes me laugh every single time. L3 freeing those little droids from their restraining bolts And then the little dudes are just going nuts. They're like walking across the consoles. They're like punching holes in
Right.
the
Damn it.
wall. They're like
It
ripping wires out.
It's like
Damn it.
it's like Home Alone, or it's if you saw Ghostbusters Afterlight, all the little Stay Puffs that come to life in the Walmart. You know, it's like
so
that,
good.
or it's the Porg, the Porg in
Yes.
the cockpit in The Last Jedi, just
Yes.
tearing things up and eating stuff, and yeah, exactly, just running amok. But yeah, it's
And
akin
then
to
she's just like,
Kevin
rebellion!
jumping on the bed in Home Alone, rebellion. Yeah, she stole the show. She stole everything she was in, and that was of course Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the actress who has a great short series you can I think watch on Netflix called Fleabag. Mark, have you ever checked that out?
I have not.
That is
after watching this, I think I have to.
Yeah,
she
really
was delightful, and I had that written down as my scene because I didn't think.
Oh
anyone
no!
else would pick it, so I should have known that. I should have known. But
You
there
had
are some other
access to my
great
notes,
scenes.
dude.
That's I know. But I, to be fair, I wrote mine yesterday before I looked because I just wanted to have like my own little thoughts. However, there are some other great things. As you know what, I'm gonna skip that one too. I'm gonna go with the mall reveal for me.
Yes, my husband and I were
what
going
a
this
shock.
at each other in the theater.
That's Charlie. You mentioned that before that you have some thoughts on mall. So let's. I'm gonna let you take that away.
You know, it's interesting because I was talking with John, who is Todd and I's other best buddy, our college roommate. The mall revealed to me, while it clearly has some value, doesn't really make a hell of a lot of sense for the character's storyline, because if we see him in the Clone Wars when he kind of gets pee-pee slapped around by Palpatine and his brother gets killed, and then you later see him again in Rebels and he meets his Waterloo, at what point does he then also run a criminal syndicate?
Right.
It just
it's explaining some of that in the comics
Maul is
right now,
just
right?
multi-talented and runs multiple small businesses. So
I mean, I guess
he's an
but
entrepreneur.
Let's walk in the feet of someone who has only ever seen the films. So someone who has only ever seen the film saw episode 1, Maul get cut in half. End of his story. That was in 1999. Now jump forward almost 20 years. Here's Maul again. He's got legs and he's talking. And they're like, what the hell is going on?
So you say that?
So
because there's a guy like 4 seats down from us who's like, who's that?
Dude, was he stoned? Dude.
No, he was some older gentleman.
Dude.
I have a friend right now who is watching all of the films in chronological order, but when I was asked where to put Solo, I said you could
put it in the trunk
where it belongs. But I said if you want to watch that one in release order, it kind of makes sense because you see in The Force Awakens, you see Han die and then you kind of go back and tell his whole story. And I like watching it in that order, but I cannot wait for the message of like, wait a second, I watched him get chopped in half because we talked about that scene.
Exactly my point.
As being fantastic. I can't wait. It's going to be great.
It just doesn't scale down. So, gosh, I guess it lands on me. Probably my favorite scene, if I can jump in, was super early on. Is that they had the lady who voiced Lady Proxima, the big lizard woman. She was the principal at the school where Schwarzenegger was in Kindergarten Cop. I can't remember that the little short woman. It was voiced by her because I looked it up. But I love Han Solo, the way he bullshits his way through that scene. I got a thermal detonator, click click, and it's a rock. And she's like, you know what? She's like, I'm not buying your bullshit here. You have a rock in your hand.
That's a rock.
And then he throws it in the window and shatters it. And he does the yoink, and then he runs up out of there. So Han Solo, that to me really cements Han's role in this movie as being the super duper hustler, which you then see him do later on with Woody Harrelson and his crew in order to escape death. And then he's just kind of hustling his way through everything, which is just one of the very endemic natures of the character, which he then carries on to what you see him doing in The Force Awakens, where he's back on his own and he's still swindling people and hustling this and doing that. So Han Solo, as always, has always been a street rat and a hustler. And I thought that was pretty cool. Among all the weird mixed feelings I have about this movie, and where it kind of doesn't belong, it also is it's kind of the cool kid of the pack, and it doesn't need to belong because it does its own thing. So it's very tonally different, but it's like, you know what? I'm not part of the Skywalker saga, but you know what? Don't bloody worry about it, mate. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite characters, Scarlet?
You know what I'm going to say? Because I started typing it as she isn't my favorite character, and after I typed everything out, I was like, okay, fine, she's my favorite character. So L3, I adore her. Her whole name, though, which makes me chuckle, because my friends and I, we totally would do this in like middle school. Be like, can you type in LEET? L337 is the original form for LEET, which is a shorthand of the word elite, meaning someone who's very good at what they do. And L3, of course, is very good at what she does, which is navigating. So I love that like they decided to name her LEET because she is so good.
super geeky name. I love it.
She has grown on me so much. I adore her character.
Yep. Well, her character does make a return in the I've mentioned a certain point of view. It's an audiobook series for me, but it's a series of vignettes that takes place in between the cracks of The Empire Strikes Back. There is a story about her and two other AIs that inhabit the computer of the Millennium Falcon. So you do get to see her again.
I did read up on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I finished it just recently. I myself cannot get over how great Donald Glover is as Lando Calrissian.
Yes.
Of the human characters in this movie, to me it's his movie. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. Everything he does, aping from obviously from Billy D. Williams, totally amazing. Loved it.
It's the arrogance and charm. Like him and Alden, they really captured the way that the original actors made these characters, just the way that they move, the way that they talk, the way that they sit, for Pete's sake. Like they captured all of that again, and it was fantastic. Donald is a great actor.
True that.
Again, from our Discord, famous Seamus said, can we all agree the best thing in this movie is Donald Glover's Lando? One of the best casting in the entire franchise, not just the movie, franchise. Yes. Lando was so charismatic and had great chemistry with the other cast members. 100%. All I had in my notes was the top note was Lando freaking Calrissian.
Yeah,
because he was so darn good. Just amazing.
He got the drawl.
I do also have to say everything. Like he nailed it. I do also have to say, one of the moments that, and I think Charlie, I think you just mentioned this on Twitter, droid sex.
That was the pansexual AI sex deal with the Lando was because they're sitting and she's like, hey, I'm kind of feeling funny. You're going to have to do that thing later, and I'm like, what fucking thing later is he talking about? I don't want to know.
The scene with Kira is the one I'm talking about, where she goes like, how would that work? And you get that L3 just kind of like turn around like, it works. Like just deadpan drop. But she flashes her, and I don't even know how they did that with a droid face that doesn't really like emote, but she still flashed her that like, girl, it works. Like
word.
Something that, again, one of those things that like, you don't need that in this movie, but like, I appreciate it that it was in there just for the sake of like, again, going back to Star Wars is for everyone. Like, it's a big universe. Right. Love who you want to love, I guess. But like, it's such a funny little moment between those two characters. And like, it shows that like Lando's just maybe kind of looking for love in all the wrong places. She said she doesn't have the same kind of feelings for him,
Wook
right?
and
And
Penub. Yeah, oh yeah.
yeah, it's one of those weird things that like I watched this movie and I was just like, man, they didn't have to put that in there, but I appreciate that they did, because it's
Right.
just it's one of those things that like you don't ever. I never really thought about it till this movie, and then just I love again. How do you make a droid give a girl? It works.
Hmm.
Like, how did they make a droid make that face without having a face? Is great. Anyway, let's move on from that one. I did. I again love Alden's and Lando's. It's just both great characters. So I'm gonna skip forward for a second and talk about the actors. Would you
Hmm.
guys like to see these actors continue on with different stories, fill in some of those gaps? Like we said, we had a 25-year gap in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. A lot of stuff happened. They've been filling a little
Right.
bit in on the comics. Not everyone
Right.
reads the comics.
Well,
Would you like to see these
and
actors?
and now obviously Mandalorian, and that's one, along with the biggest comic to screen one that I'd love to see is Dr. Aphra, because that's a huge favorite character of my
Right.
wife and I's, but it's a comic, it's an original comics character. So I
Mhm.
absolutely, hands down, would like to see any of these actors in these roles.
Yeah.
But as far as imagining them like post Return of the Jedi, you could tweak a little bit here and there. They did, obviously, Mark Hamill de-aged down as Luke for the season finale of Mandalorian season 2. There are a lot of people kind of in the zeitgeist that said, well, Sebastian Stan would be a great move forward with that character, and I really wish they would have done it, because I love him and he's got a Mark Hamill vibe going on. So yeah,
Even
if they could do that, plus Alden, plus Millie Bobby Brown as Princess Leia.
Oh, good casting. Okay.
Holy
I
crap!
was thinking Billy Lord.
Oh
Just
yeah, oh
go
yeah,
straight for the lineage
as
there.
her mom. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. But yeah,
and Max Lloyd Wright.
right,
We like the body double for Mark Hamill in Mandalorian.
right.
Mark Hamill himself said like 100% he's good enough to just take the role
I saw
and
that
do
on
it.
Twitter
So
today too. Yeah, but yeah,
um,
I could easily see that. I mean, again, you're taking these characters where they are, and you'd be plussing up their ages, this and that. But even just to chronicle, even just to do one of these, the Disney Plus 6-7 episode miniseries is the way to tell stories with any of these right now. I mean, they've done a whole thing in the comics right now where Kira is back in that
right.
space in between Empire and Return of the Jedi, and they've really drawn out this War of the Bounty Hunters thing, where they've really overcomplicated the whole Han and Carbonite block and Boba Fett thing. So I've stayed away from it because it kind of smells bad. Because the
Right.
comics are so granular. But these really wouldn't have to be, because again, if we're 10 years before A New Hope, that gives you 10 years of Han stories to tell. Like Han's doing this and he bumps into Lando again, and then they get involved in a scheme and it blows up and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. So yeah, those are stories that could be told in like a 6-episode TV arc. So it wouldn't
Yeah.
have to be
And
some,
it could be
yeah,
before New Hope, it could be after Return of the Jedi. I mean, there's a ton of
right,
space there to really
right,
explore. Like before New Hope, Luke's probably not the most interesting character because he's kind of stuck on Tatooine, but like
right,
I'd love to follow something with Leia, like
right.
her growing up. Millie Bobby Brown's a great one for there.
Mhm.
Scarlet, what do you think with these characters? Would you
So
like to see them continue, or do you just want to move on?
no, so I want them, like, if they ever need a Han Solo or Lando Calrissian in any of the like TV shows that they're doing, 100% bring these actors back. 100%. They need to
Right,
be these actors, like they need to be these characters. Um It'd be interesting to see some kind of weird shenanigan adventure that like the three dudes go on like after they all meet. So after Luke and Han and Lando get to know each other a bit, like see
Right.
some dorky little, I don't know, like 1 hour special of them doing
And
something
right.
we know
stupid.
that Luke and Lando went hunting Ochi of Bastoon. Like
Right,
we
right, right.
know that kind of stuff happened, right? So like we
Right.
know they had adventures.
Yeah.
It's there. So
They're
show
more than
some.
just colleagues. They are friends.
Right, and so they could plug, and they could plug in like, the Luke and Lando show, 6 months after, 4 or 5 months, a couple of years after Return of the Jedi, where they don't look ridiculous, or even, this is something that can happen on down the road when Donald Glover gets a chance to age a little bit and he looks older. Go for it,
Yeah.
So
100%.
I think that kind of stuff exists in the future without a doubt. So.
Again, coming from Discord before we start wrapping up, AJ Paz wrote, I hope they get another chance on Disney Plus, specifically Disney Plus. I'm thinking they could do movies, but Disney Plus here to reprise their roles, maybe with Sebastian Stan as Luke,
Yes.
just someone new as Princess Leia, maybe get a character reunion. We should have gotten in the sequel trilogy that we never got with the original cast. So yeah, I'd love to see those characters all together again, because we never did get that full cast reunion. We got a couple meeting here and there and a projection meeting, a little, but we never got like the band's back together, and sometimes life is like that, which I think is a lesson that people need to remember for watching the sequels, because that's just life. Sometimes you never get to meet up with those people again. They're in your life for a bit, and shit doesn't work out.
I hear you.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff here that could be explored with these new younger generation of actors. So whether they do age up a little bit, or we just like pick up and say, yeah, whatever, who cares? They're whatever age they are. It's Star Wars. That's fantastical.
Right.
Let's go. So let's wrap up. Is there anything you guys would change about this movie to make it suit you better?
It's tough to even really come right out and say that, to Monday Morning Quarterback, a now almost 4-year-old film. They kind of did what they did. In some ways, it was pretty irrelevant because it was all about box checking. But in other ways, they took what they did and delivered, as we've all said here, some really solid, exciting performances that we really enjoyed, some characters that had great chemistry, created some memorable moments, and some great things that could show itself again. So I don't know what they set out to do. I know what they weren't successful doing, but I know really what they did do that I thought was pretty great. So I don't know that they really could have changed much. It would have been great to have this project not so mired in controversy, because it was Miller and Lloyd who ran the wrath of Kathleen Kennedy, and she fired them and she gut and slashed their movie. They brought in Ron Howard, which, to Todd's point, doing the fantastical is potentially maybe not his jam, and so perhaps that went wrong. But again, I still enjoyed this movie, so I'll stick with my original caveat, is that to answer your question, I don't know.
Right. Scarlet, how you thinking? What would you change anything? Or are you kind of
I
similar
would
to
change
Charlie?
nothing. I honestly believe that it was a solid story. I think it had a great cast. I enjoyed the music. In a sense, it was totally a filler episode, but it's one that I will watch again and again because I enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm kind of mirroring what you guys said. Like the main thing I'd change is the controversy behind the scenes. Like I wish I didn't know that. Right. I wish I just went to see this.
I know nothing about the controversy, so I guess I'm lucky.
Okay, so Lloyd and Miller originally, so they did what, like the Lego movie and some other like fun movie things.
Fun reference stuff, yeah.
Right, but they basically wanted this to be like all improv kind of stuff. Like they wanted to go really goofy with it, and I guess like the Disney higher ups, Kathleen Kennedy, they saw that and they were like, "What is this?" It's like all shtick comedy. From what it sounded like, from anything I've read, and I'd love to see some of that original footage, but I highly doubt we ever will. But
it's been burned. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I would love to just know like how much they leaned into it. Like, is this like, whose line is it anyway in space, or like have those stories been a little exaggerated? Like, no. Anyway, I thought they did, but I wish it wasn't so marred in controversy.
I hear you.
So
Yeah.
quickly, ratings. I think we kind of already. Charlie, you got yours already. Scarlet, what's the like a number rating? Do you give this a number rating?
Everything sits at about a 7 or an 8 for me, so this one's an 8.
Okay. All right, perfect. Charlie, you're sticking with this. What the hell did you say? 7.73?
8.73.
8.73. There we go.
Okay,
there we
perfect.
go.
I love it.
It did a thing that it wasn't the thing it was supposed to do, but nevertheless, it was a thing.
Okay,
you know I'm right.
I'm gonna go with 5 out of 6 chicken nuggets.
Most
but
excellent.
it has some really good sauce in the bag. They gave you 2 different kinds of sauces, and you're like, yeah, I like that sauce.
Heck yeah.
So that's where I'm sticking. So thank you, Scarlet. Thank you for joining us with this. Can you tell people where to find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Scarlet_stream, because Twitter is dumb and won't give me an inactive handle. And you can also
Twitter.
find me on,
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, you can also find me on YouTube, Scarlet Stream. And then just follow my link tree in either of those places to find the plethora of other things that I do.
Yeah, you run some great shops. If you're not going to plug it, I will. You do some incredible stuff, some handcrafted stuff, some like really cool geek and gamer merch. You're holding up a hoodie right now for anyone that's not watching the video, which you definitely should. Go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel and help us hit 100 subs. But yeah, some great stuff. Go follow that link tree because you have some great stuff. You're doing some giveaways too. So
yes.
make sure people go enter those.
Do that. Check out my Twitter. I quote tweet it like every day. It's a Gamer Swag giveaway. You get a hoodie, a sweet mug, a couple of other things, all that good stuff.
Excellent.
Totally awesome.
Excellent. And yeah, that's it. So Charlie, you want to plug us away?
Plug. You got it. Well, yeah. Find us over on Twitter, obviously at Secret Friends U. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3, spell it out. I also am primarily responsible for the social media over on Facebook for Secret Friends. I post most of the content to try to keep the conversation rolling. I also run a Star Trek fan club chapter in Michigan, the USS Grand Petoskey, which can be found all across socials, talking about Star Trek. In addition to doing a Star Trek show right here on this lovely network. But yeah, that's it for me. So thank you, Scarlet, for joining up. I'm going to tell everyone, as always, that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.